Hello, my name is Raymond, and today I'm going to be giving my point of view and explaining about the factors that affect the learning of a second language. So, that's the first factor. I chose the teacher's influence. This is highly important. Why? Because you may be a wonder kid, you may have a 200 level IQ, but if your teacher is not like very committed to do his job, then I'm sorry, but the teaching learning process will not be as integral as possible. Now, the age of acquisition. This is very important because this is the reason I chose this is based on some researchers that state that this plays a major role because it's not the same if the kid of 4 or 5 years old starts learning a second language than if somebody of 35, 40 years old starts learning a second language. And the reason for this is that as a kid, you are more likely to develop a more natural and more native-like pronunciation and tone. So the thing is that if you're kind of old, and you're trying to learn a second language, remember that the pronunciation of your first language will be so present, and learning the native pronunciation of the other language will be harder for you. So this is why I chose the age of acquisition as a factor that affects the learning process on the second language, obviously. So intelligence. Now, I was reading the information, and intelligence refers to the academical development of the student. So the reason I chose this, it's because this is based on our reality. Why? Because on our country, the English language goal is for academical purposes. Nobody, I think, or maybe like 3% of all English learners, they develop the acquisition of this language because of social or yeah, social matters, like for example, just because they want to, or for informal situations. But in our country, most of the people develop the or try to learn the second language for academical purposes or to get a better job. So intelligence. Now the personality. I was thinking about this, and I think that plays a huge role on the teaching and learning process because depending on your personality, it would be easier or harder for you to get to learn a second language. Why? Because if you have like a low esteem, a low self-esteem, sorry, or if you are outgoing, or if you are an introvert person, then that's gonna play a role, because if you're not like participating a lot, if you don't like um, giving your thoughts or practicing a lot on public, then it's going to be harder for you to learn a second language. Now, the attitude. Whoa, this is maybe nobody thinks about this, or a few people does, but the attitude. This is so important. Why? Because let's say I have 25 years old, and let's say that I'm starting to learn a second language, and if my attitude is like, oh, it's going to be hard for me to learn it, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to learn it, then I'm starting with the wrong foot. So if you have a positive mind, if you trust yourself, then I think the learning process will be easier. Now, the learning styles. Well, there's a lot to say about this. Every people has a tendency or has a preference or has a mental ability that helps that person in particular to help through a different way than another people does. So, for example, in my case, I'm more of a visual kind of auditory learner, I'm not very good at doing stuff with my hands about English activities. I don't think I learn a lot about while writing. I'm more of a visual and auditory learner, so that helps you to develop the second language and helps you to get more used to it. You know, if the activities you're performing they go alongside your learning style, then I think it will be a more complete a more complete learning process. So that this has been my participation and I hope I did it well. I hope you could understand my point of view and thank you.